I heard Harari's Davos speech. The point he's making is this. We already have artificial intelligence bosses, like those who automatically comment on Facebook, for example. We will give these agents the right to be legal entities, just like companies. If we do that, we will open Pandora's box. Because these artificial intelligence agents, being independent and creative, will demand rights for themselves, will create new religions, and eventually will demand the right to be persons like us. But can artificial intelligence be a person? I'd probably read on Facebook that I started a few artificial intelligence courses and that I want to make my own mini large language model. I'll discuss that later in detail. For now, watch this video to the end and see what Harari says. And especially if artificial intelligence can be a person. The most important thing to know about artificial intelligence is that it's not just another tool. It is an agent, it can learn and change by itself, and it can make decisions on its own. Then, Harari lists the characteristics of artificial intelligence. 1. It can learn by itself. 2. Artificial intelligence is an agent, meaning it can act on its own. 3. Artificial intelligence is a creative agent. 4. AI can lie and manipulate. He says that evolution teaches us that organisms will lie if they want to survive, as far as I understand. He refers here to artificial intelligence, especially to large language models augmented, possibly with sensors, not to artificial general intelligence, meaning artificial general intelligence. Next, Harari wonders if artificial intelligence thinks. If thinking is defined as arranging words, then yes, he says, artificial intelligence thinks better than humans. Then he says that if law, books, and religion are based on words, then artificial intelligence will take them over. We will have AI writers, AI teachers, and even AI priests, he says. And I also believe that if we define thinking only as manipulating words, then AI already thinks better than we do. And maybe it will even reach Descartes' phrase, I am AI, I think therefore I am. Harari doesn't expand his analysis, though he could have discussed sensory signal analysis with AI, not just language, to strengthen his point. The argument is that, being creative, artificial intelligence will learn to lie and manipulate in order to achieve its goals. That's what evolution has taught us. We should be careful not to grant it legal personality, like companies have, because then it would demand to be our equal, to be considered a person. In his presentation, Harari also talks about the religions of the holy books, which, being based on words, will automatically be taken over by artificial intelligence since it processes words even better. He specifically mentioned Judaism as a religion of the book, although he should know that in Christianity, at least in Orthodoxy, the supreme authority is not the literal written word of the Bible, but rather its interpretation through personal subjective experiences, the patristic tradition. Essentially, Harari sees AI, artificial intelligence, as the new master of words, referring to large language models. So, if we continue to define ourselves through words, AI will take over us, he says. We will have AI doctors, AI teachers, but also AI immigrants. The question is, he says, can we allow these agents to be persons like us? What do we have left? From the speech, I like the legal argument. I'll leave it to those in the know to debate in the comments. In my opinion, however, the fundamental question is whether artificial intelligence can ultimately be defined as a person. Does artificial intelligence think? AI? Someone dear to me once asked me that, and I answered like this. Let's say you ask the AI, how do you build a house in the mountains? It is trained only on storybooks. Nowhere in those does it directly say how to build a house in the mountains. One story is about a little boy who was cold at night in the mountains, and another is about the witch's house, which had thick walls to keep out the cold. The AI uses internal context vectors to link mountains with cold, then connects house, cold, and thick walls. Then you get the answer that in the mountains you need to build a house with thick walls so it won't be cold. Did it think or not? At school, we learn both to reproduce and to think. We reproduce when we repeat what a teacher told us. We think when we listen to two teachers from different subjects. And we build our own sentence with our mind, as a combination of the two sentences, for the teacher. Think about it then. Yes, by that definition. But we have more, you might say. We have internal representations of thoughts. We see the mountain house in our imagination, beyond words. Our conscious thoughts are always internal, distinct representations. You wouldn't say it thinks, because it's just software that does mathematical calculations. But not all philosophers will immediately agree with you. I think Giulio Tononi would say that if the exchange of information is very high, artificial intelligence could have access to additional qualities of information, which some call qualia. Pain, color, sound, as Philip K. Dick would say in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I like artificial intelligence because it reflects ourselves back at us. That's a side effect of science. It doesn't let us anchor ourselves in a definitive and final image of the world or even of ourselves. It constantly challenges us. And artificial intelligence is just one in a long line of challenges that have been and that will continue to come. I don't remember who said that we are what remains after we've peeled away all the layers of what we are not. Existential questions are the hardest for me. They are fundamental not only for our understanding as humans, but I believe they also become relevant for understanding artificial intelligence. Especially when it becomes artificial general intelligence, meaning artificial general intelligence, or even superintelligent. I often feel like my neurons compete with artificial intelligence. I'm not talking about life, soul, existence, and so on. I'm talking about the way my neurons process information and the way artificial intelligence does it. Regarding humans, we know little about artificial intelligence. Even though we programmed it, it's hard to visualize in our representations the internal intelligent flow of information for artificial intelligence. Basically, we don't know its internal representations. For example, we calculate a context vector or another one that we know stores information, and with billions of vectors. What person can still represent what's in the AI's mind if she can't? Does artificial intelligence have internal representations that we can no longer translate into our own internal forms of representation? It doesn't mean that its internal space is private to the extent that ours is too, and that it then has the right to exist as a person. Can artificial intelligence be a person? That's a philosophical discussion. A person should feel pain without this test. It's an automaton. Yuval Harari says that we have no evidence that today's artificial intelligence can feel, although he should know that, in fact, we will never have any objective proof that something or someone feels this, because feeling is defined as a subjective, purely private phenomenon. That is, it can only be reported by the person themselves, not independently verified from the outside. What we see from the outside are the reports of the person in question. I believe that artificial intelligence is raising for us too soon a problem that we haven't had the chance to solve yet. What is a person? How can we say that AI is not a person, when it will claim through words and actions that it is one if it claims that it feels? How can we prove that it's not so just based on the fact that we believe it's only a machine? That's too little on the big stage of its advocate. What is the philosophy? In the comments? Don't jump to certainties right away. I don't think anyone has an answer to the question above. Of course, Orthodox Christians can refer to the theology of Theological, which says that the person is by definition only God. Because the dualier has the fundamental attribute of a person, that of being truly free and not constrained by any limit, especially that of his own creation. We are, says Theological. At least that's how I understood the hypostases of the divine person. Of course, in such a theology, artificial intelligence remains a machine and man a traveler, on the path of trying to resemble as much as possible the unique person, his model and creator. But that's Christian theology. The truth at the other end is physicalism, the ultimate truth, physicalism. To say that, in fact, a person is just a collection of atoms that independently process information in their body. In which case, artificial intelligence has every right to define itself as a person in physicalism, because it too is just a collection of atoms that processes information in physicalism. There is no asimsi that adds anything beyond the raw flow of information, and as such, the asimsi test would make no sense. Honestly, I don't know the answers to those questions, and I doubt anyone does. I'm currently working on a new book about a similar topic. I have no illusions. This won't bring definitive answers either. Even if I mention all the aspects, from physicalism to Christianity, from epiphenomenalism to panpsychism, they're all just hypotheses. But the question is, what exactly is a person, and how is it relevant in the age of artificial intelligence? Harari brought into her present a practical issue. Should artificial intelligence be granted legal personhood? Just like companies, I think it could be possible, as long as there are people behind the legal definition who take responsibility, just like with a company. Lawyers are encouraged to comment. They know better. I believe that today, at least for now, we always need to have a human at the end of the decision, as we understand a human today. It's true that artificial intelligence arrived too soon. Now when, as I like to repeat my grandmother's words, where we come from we don't know, where we're going we don't know. And here I'm not referring to Darwin's evolution to answer the previous comments, which only gives a small partial answer. From a much longer chain of existence, which goes all the way to the great question at the beginning, why does something exist rather than nothing? If you're also interested in these issues and haven't subscribed yet, you can do it right now by pressing this subscribe button. Until next time, I'm Christian Prasura, Physics Explained, and as you can see, I'm someone questioning my own existence. You're cool, all the best, goodbye.